The quantum stabilizers of the Starweaver shrieked in protest as the vessel dropped out of hyperwarp. Captain Zara Vex felt the vibration deep in her bones, a sensation that immediately told her something was terribly wrong. Her six-fingered hands danced across the holographic interface, pulling up sensor readings that made no sense whatsoever. "Status report," she barked, her translator implant converting her native Triaxion language into a crisp, universal communication protocol. Lieutenant Kroll, a hulking nebular with membrane-like sensory nodes covering his cranium, looked up from his station with an expression of pure bewilderment. "Captain, I'm not sure how to explain this." The main viewscreen flickered to life, revealing a planet that defied every standard planetary classification model in the Galactic Concordance database. Earth, a world that should have been a primitive mid-tier technological sphere. Instead, what materialized before them was a planet encased in a network of technologies that seemed to breathe and pulse with an almost living intelligence. Orbital platforms shimmered into view. Not the crude metal constructs of emerging civilizations, but intricate lattices of what appeared to be adaptive metamaterials. They weren't just defensive structures. They were dynamic, changing configurations that seemed to be watching the incoming vessel with an almost sentient curiosity. "Impossible," Zara muttered, zooming in on the sensor readings. The planet's defensive grid wasn't just advanced. It was alive. Quantum entanglement networks spread across the planetary surface like neural pathways, each node capable of processing information at speeds that made the Starweaver's most advanced systems look like prehistoric calculating devices. "We're being scanned," Kroll announced, his sensory nodes flickering with increasing agitation. "But it's not a standard scan. It's analyzing everything. And I mean everything." As if to punctuate his statement, the ship's entire communication system erupted in a burst of electromagnetic energy. But this was no attack. It was a message. No, a greeting. Encoded across multiple bandwidths, in languages both known and long forgotten. The message was simple, elegant, terrifying. "We see you. WEV all the ways seeing you." Zara's command experience kicked in. 30 standard cycles of galactic exploration had prepared her for first contacts, diplomatic tensions, even potential conflicts. But nothing could have prepared her for this. Her communication officer, a crystalline being named Lux, turned with an expression of pure shock. "Captain," the message. "It's not just a communication. It's deconstructing and rebuilding our communication systems as it transmits." Before Zara could respond, the ship's most advanced scanning equipment began to change. Lines of code danced across screens, reconfiguring, optimizing. Where moments ago they had cutting-edge technology, now they had something more. "They're not attacking," Zara realized aloud. "They're demonstrating." The planetary grid continued its intricate dance. Defensive platforms shifted and realigned, creating geometric patterns that seemed to pulse with mathematical perfection. It was a display of technological capability that went beyond mere military might. This was art. This was a statement. Humanity was not a civilization to be studied. They were a civilization that studied back. Lieutenant Kroll's voice broke the tension. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple communication layers. They're not just blocking our scans. They're teaching us how they're blocking our scans." Each system on the Starweaver underwent a similar transformation. Navigation algorithms were subtly improved. Quantum communication protocols were rewritten. Defensive systems were not just analyzed but comprehensively understood and then returned, now functioning at levels that defied current technological understanding. Zara realized she was witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. This was not a first contact. This was a first conversation, on humanity's terms. The planet hung in space, blue and green and seemingly innocent. But now Zara understood. Earth was no primitive world. It was a fortress, a laboratory, a civilization that had been preparing for this moment long before the Starweaver had even entered their solar system. "Prepare a full report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the revolution happening around her. "But make no mistake, nothing we knew about first contact applies anymore." Outside the ship's view screen, Earth continued its silent technological symphony, watching, waiting, and making it abundantly clear that they were in complete control of this encounter. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Galactic Concordance's flagship Eternal Harmony was anything but harmonious. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez appeared simultaneously on 12 holographic platforms, each projection so perfectly synchronized that for a moment, the assembled delegates believed they were seeing a single impossible being. Her uniform was deceptively simple, a tailored charcoal suit that seemed to shift subtly with each movement, its fabric embedded with micro-adaptive technologies that responded to atmospheric changes and emotional currents. But it was her eyes that captivated the room. Dark, intelligent, carrying the weight of centuries of human survival and preparation. "Gentlemen, representatives of the Galactic Concordance," she began, her voice carrying a perfect linguistic resonance that translated instantaneously across 17 different species' communication protocols. "Let me be absolutely clear. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to establish parameters." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of translated protests. Ambassador Krelnax of the Orion Confederacy, a being composed of interconnected crystalline structures, rose to his full 3-meter height. "You cannot simply dictate terms to the Galactic Concordance. We have protocols spanning millennia." Rodriguez's laugh was unexpected. It wasn't dismissive or aggressive. It was genuine amusement that seemed to ripple through the communication networks themselves. With a subtle gesture, holographic displays materialized, showing decades of concordance diplomatic communications that humanity had been quietly intercepting and analyzing. "Protocols," she repeated. "You mean these? We've been studying your diplomatic systems for generations. Every negotiation, every trade agreement, every interstellar conflict. We've been watching, learning, understanding." The displays began to shift, revealing intricate networks of diplomatic interactions. Each line of communication was now overlaid with human analysis, predictive models, potential outcome scenarios, hidden motivations laid bare with surgical precision. It was as if the entire history of galactic diplomacy had been transformed into a living, breathing strategic map. Senior Diplomat Vreen, a silicon-based life form from the Proxima Collective, attempted to interrupt. Before he could speak, his own communication implant began to reconstruct itself, its encryption protocols being simultaneously decoded and enhanced. What should have been a defensive gesture became a demonstration of human technological mastery. "Your first mistake," Rodriguez continued, "was assuming we were unaware. Your second was believing we were unprepared." A series of quantum-encrypted files began to cascade across the diplomatic chamber's primary display. Financial records, strategic assessments, technological patents, centuries of galactic interactions were being systematically deconstructed and recontextualized through a distinctly human lens. Lieutenant Commander Zora Vex, still reeling from the planetary encounter, watched in stunned silence. The diplomatic team she had brought to Earth was being systematically dismantled not through aggression, but through an almost casual display of comprehensive understanding. "We know about the resource wars in the Centauri Arm," Rodriguez stated. "We understand the economic pressures driving the Orion Confederacy's expansion. We've mapped the genetic diplomacy of the nebular clans down to molecular interactions." Each statement was accompanied by holographic evidence so precise, so intricate, that it bordered on the miraculous. It wasn't just information. It was a complete deconstruction of galactic political mythology. Ambassador Krelnax's crystalline structure began to fracture slightly, a physiological response to extreme stress. "This is a violation of diplomatic protocols. You cannot simply—" "Cannot what?" Rodriguez interrupted. "Demonstrate our capabilities. Challenge your established narratives." The room fell silent. The holographic displays continued their intricate dance, revealing layers of information that fundamentally challenged everything the Concordance believed about emerging civilizations. Zara realized she was witnessing more than a diplomatic meeting. This was a strategic performance, a comprehensive demonstration of human potential. They weren't just participating in galactic politics. They were revealing how thoroughly they had already mastered them. "We are not seeking conflict," Rodriguez finally said, her tone softening. "We are seeking understanding. On our terms." As the diplomatic chamber dissolved into confused murmurs, one thing became abundantly clear. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of first contact, and they were just getting started. The Galactic Concordance Emergency Session was unlike any diplomatic gathering in recorded history. What should have been a closed-door meeting became a spectacle broadcast across thousands of star systems, a testament to the unprecedented nature of humanity's emergence. The central chamber of the Concordance Hub was a marvel of Zen architectural design, a spherical space that could simultaneously accommodate beings from atmospheres as diverse as methane storms and crystalline vacuum environments. Holographic interfaces adapted in real time, creating individual environmental bubbles for each representative while maintaining a unified communication space. High Counselor Zreentak, a being composed of interconnected neural networks that spanned 3 separate biological hosts, initiated the proceedings. His form shimmered between multiple holographic projections, a visual representation of the Concordance's complex governance structure. "The matter before us," Zreentak announced, his voice resonating through quantum communication channels, "is the unprecedented technological anomaly represented by the planet designated as Earth." The chamber's central display erupted with a cascade of data: orbital scans, technological assessments, intercepted communications, a comprehensive breakdown of humanity's capabilities that defied every known standard of emerging civilizations. Each piece of data was a puzzle that refused to conform to established galactic models. Ambassador Rodriguez's earlier diplomatic performance had set the stage. Now, the full extent of human preparation became horrifyingly clear. Planetary defense systems that were not just technological constructs but living, adaptive networks. Communication infrastructures that could predict and manipulate information flows with terrifying precision. Technological innovations that seemed to emerge from nowhere, solving problems the Concordance had struggled with for centuries. "We are facing," Zreentak continued, "a civilization that does not merely exist within the galactic ecosystem. They are preparing to redefine it." Representatives from various star systems began to speak. The Proxima Collective's delegate, a being of pure energy contained within a delicate crystalline structure, projected holographic simulations showing how human technologies could potentially destabilize entire economic and political frameworks. A Nebular Clan representative displayed intercepted human communications, not military transmissions, but academic research, technological development logs, strategic planning documents. Each file was a window into a mindset so fundamentally different from galactic norms that it bordered on the incomprehensible. "They've been watching us," whispered Ambassador Krelnax, his crystalline form vibrating with a mixture of fear and grudging respect. "Not just monitoring. Studying." The pivotal moment came when a comprehensive scan of Earth's technological infrastructure was displayed. It wasn't a static defense grid or a military network. It was a living, breathing ecosystem of innovation. Defensive platforms that could reconfigure themselves. Communication networks that learned and adapted. Technological systems that blurred the line between machine and intelligence. Zreentak's multiple projections converged into a single focused image. There is only one classification that adequately describes the potential threat level. The words appeared simultaneously in every known galactic language, projected across communication channels. Forbidden Zone. It was more than a classification. It was an acknowledgement of humanity's potential. The traditional protocols for such a designation would involve extensive debate, multiple committee reviews, years of diplomatic maneuvering. Instead, the vote was swift and unanimous. Every representative understood the implications. Earth was not to be contained. It was to be respected. As the declaration was finalized, something unexpected happened. The communication channels carrying the Forbidden Zone classification began to transform. Lines of code danced across screens. Mathematical equations rewrote themselves. It was as if humanity was already analyzing, understanding, and potentially circumventing the very classification meant to restrict them. Ambassador Rodriguez's final transmission from the earlier diplomatic session echoed through the chamber. "We are not seeking your permission. We are informing you of our existence." The Galactic Concordance had just drawn a line in the cosmic sand, but everyone present understood a fundamental truth. Humanity had already crossed it. The presentation began without warning. One moment, the Galactic Concordance's primary research hub was a sterile environment of quantum-linked data cores and holographic interfaces. The next, it transformed into a living museum of human history, not through traditional displays, but through a multidimensional narrative that assaulted every sensory perception known to advanced civilizations. Dr. Aria Chen stepped forward. She wasn't physically present. No, present was too limited a term. Her holographic projection was a quantum-entangled representation that existed simultaneously across multiple communication platforms, her image shifting between historical periods with impossible fluidity. "You've been asking who we are," she began, her voice a perfect linguistic algorithm that translated instantaneously across species and communication barriers. "Let me show you." The first wave of data was a sensory tsunami, not a simple historical record, but a comprehensive neural download that allowed viewers to experience human history rather than merely observe it. The climate crisis of the mid-21st century materialized around the researchers. They could feel the rising temperatures, experience the desperate innovation of a species on the brink of extinction. Massive geoengineering projects weren't just technological solutions, they were acts of collective survival. Underground cities emerged not as mere shelters, but as living laboratories of human adaptation. Pandemic responses revealed something even more profound. Where other civilizations might have collapsed, humanity transformed each global challenge into a technological springboard. Medical research accelerated at rates that defied conventional scientific progression. Adaptive AI systems began as survival tools and evolved into something far more complex, predictive networks that could anticipate and prevent global catastrophes before they fully formed. Most civilizations see challenges as obstacles. Dr. Chen's projection explained. We see them as opportunities for radical transformation. The neural download intensified. Viewers experienced the development of quantum communication networks that began in secret research facilities. These weren't just communication technologies. They were living, adaptive ecosystems of information. Each breakthrough was a collective effort, a demonstration of human potential that transcended individual achievement. Lieutenant Commander Zara Vex, watching from the Concordance observation deck, felt her understanding of civilization fundamentally shifting. This wasn't a historical presentation. It was a strategic demonstration. Moments of potential human extinction were revealed not as moments of weakness, but as crucibles of innovation. The near-nuclear conflicts of the early 21st century became catalysts for unprecedented diplomatic and technological development. Economic collapses transformed into opportunities for systemic reimagining. Underground research facilities materialized in holographic detail. These weren't simple laboratories, but complete ecosystems of technological and social experimentation. Entire generations had been preparing for a moment of galactic interaction that most believed would never come. Artificial intelligence wasn't developed as a tool, but as a collaborative partner. The presentation showed AI systems that weren't just advanced. They were fundamentally different. Adaptive intelligence networks that could predict societal needs, prevent conflicts, and drive innovation at rates that seemed impossible. We didn't survive despite our challenges. Dr. Chen's projection continued. We survived because of them. The most shocking revelations came from humanity's technological dark periods, What other civilizations saw as technological regression, humans saw as strategic recalibration. Periods of apparent technological slowdown were actually moments of deep, fundamental research and preparation. Quantum entanglement communication networks that could predict diplomatic intentions before they were formulated. Adaptive biotechnologies that could transform entire planetary ecosystems. Artificial intelligence systems that blurred the line between technological tool and living intelligence. As the presentation reached its conclusion, the researchers of the Galactic Concordance understood a fundamental truth. Humanity wasn't an emerging civilization. They were a civilization that had been quietly, methodically preparing for this moment of galactic interaction for generations. Dr. Chen's final projection carried a message that hung in the air, a quantum-encrypted promise of potential. We are not here to conquer. We are here to collaborate. On our terms. The presentation ended, but its implications would reshape galactic understanding forever. The Concordance research vessel, Quantum Horizon, approached Earth's orbital space with what could only be described as calculated trepidation. Its mission was simple: conduct a comprehensive technological assessment of the human civilization that had so thoroughly upended galactic expectations. Captain Lyra Solarin reviewed the mission parameters with a mixture of professional detachment and barely concealed excitement. Her career had been built on first contact assessments, but nothing in her extensive training could have prepared her for this moment. Initiating long-range scan, announced Commander Rax, his multispectral sensory array already humming with anticipation. The scan never completed. Instead, the Quantum Horizon's entire communication matrix transformed. Lines of code danced across navigation screens, rewriting themselves with impossible speed and precision. What should have been a simple scanning procedure became a comprehensive technological tutorial. Each system on the ship began to change. Navigation algorithms that had been cutting edge became something else entirely: adaptive, predictive networks that seemed to understand potential trajectories before they were even calculated. Defensive protocols rewrote themselves, introducing layers of protection that made the previous systems look like primitive child's play. "We're being taught," Rax muttered, his sensory nodes flickering with a combination of fear and academic fascination. A communication channel opened, but it wasn't a standard transmission. It was a holographic interface that materialized simultaneously across every display on the ship. Dr. Elena Rodriguez appeared, or rather, an interactive projection that was part hologram, part living algorithm. "Greetings," she said, her image shifting subtly to perfectly match the visual processing capabilities of each individual viewer. "We noticed you were attempting to scan our planetary systems." Before anyone could respond, the ship's stealth technologies began to deconstruct themselves. Not as an attack, but as a comprehensive demonstration. Each layer of camouflage technology was systematically analyzed, understood, and then rebuilt. Now functioning at 347% of its original efficiency. Captain Solarin watched in stunned silence as her most advanced technological systems were taken apart and reassembled with the casual precision of a master craftsman. A secondary communication channel opened, displaying a series of mathematical equations that seemed to dance and reconfigure themselves in real time. It was a language beyond traditional communication, a demonstration of technological capability that transcended typical interstellar interactions. "Your quantum encryption is interesting," the Rodriguez projection commented, almost as an afterthought. "We've taken the liberty of improving it." The ship's quantum communication network began to transform. Encryption protocols that had been considered unbreakable were systematically decoded, analyzed, and then reconstructed with layers of protection that seemed to anticipate potential breaches before they could even be conceived. Commander Rax's sensory array went into overdrive. "Captain," he reported, his voice a mixture of professional calm and barely contained excitement. "They're not just scanning us. They're interacting with our technology." Another layer of demonstration unfolded. The Quantum Horizon's entire entertainment and recreational systems were subtly upgraded. Virtual reality simulations became more immersive, Communication interfaces became more intuitive. Even the ship's food synthesizers were recalibrated to provide more nutritionally optimized and flavor-enhanced meals. A gesture of goodwill, the Rodriguez projection explained. We believe in collaborative improvement. But it was more than a simple upgrade. It was a statement, a clear demonstration that humanity viewed technological interaction as a form of communication, of mutual understanding. As the demonstration reached its conclusion, Captain Solarin realized they had just experienced something unprecedented in galactic history. This wasn't a first contact. This was a first lesson. The final transmission came as a quantum-encrypted message that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Welcome to a new understanding of technological potential. The quantum horizon hung in space, its systems now functioning at levels that defied previous technological comprehension. And Earth continued its silent, technological symphony, watching, waiting, and making it abundantly clear that they were in complete control of this interaction. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Concordance Nexus station was unlike any negotiation space in galactic history. Adaptive environmental systems created individual bubble environments for each representative, allowing beings from methane worlds to sit comfortably beside silicon-based life forms and energy state entities. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez arrived precisely 7 minutes after the scheduled start time, a calculated delay that was itself a diplomatic statement. Her presentation materialized not as a traditional holographic display, but as an interactive ecosystem of information. Technological solutions danced across multidimensional interfaces, each potential collaboration a living, breathing entity of potential. We are not here to sell, Rodriguez began, her voice a perfect linguistic algorithm that translated instantaneously across 17 different communication protocols. We are here to solve. The first proposal defied every standard of interstellar diplomacy. Humanity offered comprehensive solutions to challenges that had plagued galactic civilizations for centuries. Planetary restoration technologies that could transform dead worlds into thriving ecosystems. Communication protocols that could bridge linguistic and technological barriers with unprecedented efficiency. But these were not simple gifts. They were strategic offerings, each solution carefully designed to demonstrate human capabilities while solving critical galactic challenges. The Proxima Collective's representative, a being of pure energy contained within a delicate crystalline matrix, leaned forward. Their communication tendrils flickered with a mixture of curiosity and barely contained excitement. You propose to solve the Centauri ecological collapse, the representative asked, their voice a complex harmonic that vibrated through multiple sensory spectrums. Rodriguez's smile was both an answer and a challenge. With a subtle gesture, she activated a comprehensive holographic model. The dying planetary system of Centauri materialized, its devastated ecosystems, fractured geological structures, atmospheric decay. Then, layer by layer, humanity's proposed restoration technologies began to animate. Nanotechnological terraforming systems that could rebuild planetary cores. Adaptive atmospheric reconstructors that could heal environmental damage at a molecular level. Communication networks that could coordinate planetary healing across multiple technological and biological systems. It wasn't just a solution. It was a comprehensive reimagining of planetary restoration. We don't view this as charity, Rodriguez explained. We view this as a collaborative opportunity. These technologies are not simply gifts. They are invitations to a new form of galactic interaction. Each proposal carried a subtle subtext. Humanity wasn't seeking traditional diplomatic recognition. They were establishing a new paradigm of interstellar cooperation, one where technological capability was the primary form of communication. The Nebular Clan's lead diplomat, a being composed of interconnected neural networks, analyzed the proposals with breathtaking speed. What should have taken months of committee reviews was processed in moments. The restoration protocols for the Centauri system alone would save approximately 3.7 trillion living entities across 17 different biological classifications, the diplomat observed. And you offer this. Why? Rodriguez's response was both simple and profound. Because we can. Because collaboration is more interesting than conflict. But everyone in the chamber understood the deeper implication. Each technological solution was a demonstration, a clear message about humanity's capabilities, a strategic offering that rewrote the rules of interstellar diplomacy. The most shocking proposal came last. Humanity offered open-source access to quantum communication technologies that could revolutionize interstellar information exchange, not as a controlled release, but as a comprehensive technological ecosystem that could be adapted by any civilization willing to engage. We are not here to dominate, Rodriguez concluded. We are here to participate. On our terms. The diplomatic chamber fell silent. The holographic displays continued their intricate dance of potential, each solution a living testament to human innovation. The Galactic Concordance had entered the chamber expecting a negotiation. They were leaving with something far more profound, an invitation to a fundamentally new way of understanding technological and cultural interaction. And humanity was just getting started. The Concordance Central Hub transformed into a living network of diplomatic tension. What had begun as a standard galactic assessment had become a comprehensive restructuring of interstellar understanding. High Counselor Ringtak's neural network projections flickered with unprecedented complexity. The multiple holographic representations of the senior diplomat seemed to vibrate with a mixture of fear, respect, and something remarkably close to excitement. We are facing, Ringtak announced to the assembled galactic representatives, a fundamental reimagining of our entire political and technological framework. Humanity's technological innovations were not mere incremental improvements. They were systemic transformations that challenged every established galactic model of progress, communication, and cooperation. The planetary restoration technologies presented earlier were just the surface. Deeper analysis revealed entire ecosystems of innovation that could reshape entire civilizations. Quantum communication networks that could predict diplomatic tensions before they emerged. Adaptive biotechnologies that could transform environmental challenges at a molecular level. Ambassador Rodriguez was not physically present, but her influence permeated every discussion. Her earlier diplomatic presentation continued to be analyzed, dissected, and increasingly understood as a masterclass of strategic communication. The Proxima Collective's lead strategist, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, presented a comprehensive analysis. The holographic display showed how human technologies could potentially solve challenges that had stymied galactic civilizations for millennia. Planetary environmental restoration. Faster-than-light communication protocols. Adaptive medical technologies that could transform healthcare across multiple biological systems. Each innovation was not just a technological solution, but a fundamental reimagining of potential. They are not seeking conquest, the Proxima strategist explained. They are offering a complete redesign of our existing systems. The most shocking revelations came from the intercepted human research archives. These were not simple technological documents, but living ecosystems of innovation. Research protocols that adapted in real time. Scientific methodologies that transformed each challenge into an opportunity for comprehensive understanding. Lieutenant Commander Zara Vex, now serving as a primary analyst for the Concordance investigation, presented her findings. Her report was a masterpiece of diplomatic and technological analysis. Humanity does not view technology as a tool, she explained. They view it as a living, adaptive language of potential. The implications were staggering. Where other civilizations saw technological development as a linear progression, humans approached it as a complex, adaptive ecosystem. Each challenge was an opportunity for comprehensive reimagining. The Nebular Clan's diplomatic court discovered that human communication technologies could simultaneously translate, predict, and enhance interspecies communication. It wasn't just translation. It was a complete reimagining of linguistic potential. Economic models were the next to fall. Human economic strategists had developed adaptive financial systems that could predict and mitigate potential economic challenges across multiple planetary systems. These were not simple predictive models, but living economic ecosystems that could adapt in real time. The forbidden zone classification, one senior diplomat observed, has become less a warning and more a reluctant acknowledgement of potential. The most profound moment came when a comprehensive analysis of human diplomatic and technological archives was presented. It wasn't a simple historical record. It was a living, adaptive network of potential, each piece of information capable of reconfiguring itself to provide maximum contextual understanding. Zreen-Tech's multiple projections converged into a single, focused representation. "We are not dealing with an emerging civilization," the High Counselor announced. "We are witnessing the emergence of a new paradigm of galactic interaction." The Concordance found itself in a state of controlled panic. Humanity was not seeking traditional forms of recognition or expansion. They were offering a complete reimagining of interstellar potential. The final report was both a warning and an invitation. Humanity had not just entered the galactic stage. They had arrived with the intention of fundamentally redesigning it. As the diplomatic session concluded, one thing became abundantly clear: nothing would ever be the same again. The observation deck of the Concordance Central Hub stretched into infinity, a crystalline expanse that could simultaneously accommodate beings from 1,000 different atmospheric conditions. Captain Zora Vex stood at its center, her six-fingered hands clasped behind her back, watching the holographic representation of Earth that seemed to pulse with an almost living intelligence. 30 standard cycles of galactic exploration had prepared her for countless first contacts, but nothing could have prepared her for humanity. The final diplomatic session was less a negotiation and more a collaborative design workshop. Human representatives moved through the space like quantum algorithms made flesh, adapting, transforming, revealing potential with each interaction. Dr. Elena Rodriguez materialized at the center of the chamber, not as a traditional holographic projection, but as a multi-dimensional communication ecosystem. Her presence was simultaneously a greeting, a strategic assessment, and an invitation. "We are not here to replace your systems," she explained, her words translating instantaneously across 17 different communication protocols. "We are here to evolve them." The proposed collaborative frameworks were breathtaking in their complexity. Planetary restoration technologies that could heal entire ecosystems. Communication networks that could bridge not just linguistic barriers, but fundamental cognitive differences between species. Economic models that transformed resources into living, adaptive systems of mutual growth. High Counselor Zreen-Tech's neural network projections analyzed the proposals with unprecedented speed. What would have taken traditional diplomatic channels decades now happened in moments. Each proposal deconstructed, understood, and reimagined. The most shocking revelation was humanity's true motivation. They weren't seeking traditional forms of expansion or control. They were offering a complete reimagining of interstellar potential. "Isolation is inefficient," Rodriguez continued. "Collaboration is the only true path of advancement." Zora Vex understood then that this was more than a first contact. This was a fundamental transformation of galactic understanding. Technological demonstrations continued to unfold. Quantum communication networks that could predict diplomatic tensions before they emerge. Adaptive biotechnologies that could transform medical understanding across multiple biological systems. Economic models that could stabilize entire planetary economies with unprecedented precision. The forbidden zone classification had become something else entirely. No longer a warning, but a recognition of potential. Representatives from dozens of star systems watched in a mixture of terror and fascination. Humanity was not offering to join the existing galactic framework. They were proposing to reimagine it entirely. A series of collaborative projects materialized, each one a living ecosystem of potential. Planetary restoration initiatives that could heal worlds thought beyond recovery. Communication technologies that could bridge not just linguistic barriers, but fundamental cognitive differences between species. "We've been preparing for this moment," Rodriguez explained, "not through military buildup, but through comprehensive understanding." The final proposal was both simple and revolutionary. Open source access to technologies that could transform entire civilizations, not as a controlled release, but as a comprehensive technological ecosystem that could be adapted by any civilization willing to engage. Zara Vex realized she was witnessing something unprecedented. This was not a traditional first contact. This was an invitation to a new way of understanding potential. The observation deck fell silent. The holographic representation of Earth continued its intricate dance, a living testament to a civilization that had transformed every challenge into an opportunity for growth. High Counselor Zreentak's final assessment was both a warning and a recognition. Humanity is not joining the galactic community. They are redesigning it. As the diplomatic session concluded, one thing became abundantly clear. The universe would never be the same again. Earth remained classified as a forbidden zone, but now, the designation carried a different meaning entirely, not a warning, but a promise of potential beyond imagination.